Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Politics of Survival. I am live at a very loud place on the street because there was a little internet thing. Yeah, my place went down. So I had to be creative and I had to come to one of my favorite cafes. And here I am. And I have a wonderful guest tonight who is a citizen journalist. His name is Nick Sortor. He did he does a lot of spaces. We've been on spaces together with Mario Nafal. He does his own spaces on X, and we have a great time chatting about different geopolitical things. He's a wonderful guy. He's such a good citizen journalist that, of course, they've done massive hit pieces on him to try to discredit him when he exposed a lot with East Palestine. Ohio disaster, and also with the fires in Maui. So welcome to the show, Nick Sortor.
Thank you for having me, Tara. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's so good to have you, and thank you for your patience. I apologize for the tech glitch on my end. I am not in a field. I'm actually at a cafe that's quite loud. So I know that's my background, but it's better than having a bar in the background because it looks bad for optics. As I say it. Anyway, so here we are. And I wanted Nick to start out the show with discussing what just happened, because you and I discuss a lot of issues, geopolitical. And one of the things that I saw was like Waffle House 2.0. What's her name? The queen. She's the queen of the shit libs. What's her name? That's
AOC?
No, well, her, but the other one, Crockett.
Jasmine Crockett.
Is that her name? Yes. The two of them together got into an argument with Marjorie Taylor Greene, trying to hurl insults at her. And Marjorie doesn't take that and gave as good as she got. And anyway, there's a little chaos ensued. And Reef, do you have the thing that I sent you, the little clip, so we can play it for our audience?
Unacceptable. How dare you attack the physical appearance of another person?
Are your feelings hurt?
Her words down.
Oh,
girl, baby girl.
Oh, really?
Don't even play.
Baby girl?
We are going to move and we're going to take your words down.
I second that motion.
Unacceptable. How dare you?
Baby girl. Oh, girl. Oh, baby girl. Well, do we have Crockett? I wanted to get her too as well.
Her words.
I believe she's apologizing. No.
Perry, okay, hold on. Then after Mr. Perry's going to be recognized, then Ms. Green
I'm not apologizing.
Well, then okay, reserve the right to object.
I am not apologizing.
Now let's go. Come on, guys.
Why don't you debate me?
Mr. Chairman, the minority.
It's pretty self-evident.
You're not.
Yeah, you're not. You don't have enough intelligence.
Chair recognizes Mr. Perry.
Okay, move to strike the. I move to strike the lady's words. Move to strike the lady's words again.
That's two requests to strike.
Oh, they cannot take the words.
There's another motion to strike her words again. Please,
all right, okay, here's the correct parliament. Ms. Green, do you agree to unanimous consent to strike your words?
I repeat again for the second time. Yes, I'll strike my words, but I'm not apologizing.
Without objection.
Apologizing.
The right to object, Chairman.
So, yeah, the Crockett one? We have one
voted
more.
To do it.
First, so you want to talk about
Order.
I'm trying to get clarification. Look at, calm down. No, because this is what y'all do. So I'm trying to get
Ms. Crockett, you're not recognized. Ms. Crockett.
I can't hear you with your yelling. Don't want calm down. No, can you please calm down? Don't tell me to calm down. Calm down. Because y'all talk noise, and then you want to control. Because if I come and talk shit about her, y'all gonna have a problem.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, Chair. Okay. Order. Chair now recognizes Ms. Green for 4 minutes and 21 seconds. 4 minutes. Let Ms. Green talk, and then I'll recognize.
I move to strike her words for a second time based on her second set of personal remarks attacking another member.
All right, Chairman. So Nick, tell me, is this the Waffle House or is this Congress?
It's a mix between the Waffle House and the Jerry Springer show. This is that's who should be chairing these committees at this point, because this is our Congress now.
Right. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's a wonder, we don't get anything done. Everybody's always complaining about not getting anything done. Well, this is why we don't get anything done, because you have ghetto trap queens like Jasmine Crockett that decide that you know, we're going to start dropping F-bombs on the floor and screaming at people and I mean, just crazy.
But you know what's interesting is they don't do it about something that matters. They do it about insulting each other or having these partisan arguments, but they don't drop the F-bomb about people dying in endless wars or Americans suffering and their taxpayers being, you know, their tax money being misused. They're not getting passionate about that at all. They're getting passionate over who throws the best insults. It's really sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it kind of reminds the American people that these people really don't give a crap about you. They don't. Right. They are totally self-centered. You know, their egos are in the way. Where that's why they're going to get into these arguments on the floor. It's because they're, you know, it's for lack of a better term, it's a pissing contest between them. Like, oh, who's got the most clout? Who's the baddest biatch in the House of Representatives? I mean, what was the point in all of that? You know, it was just like, it was a cat fight.
Well, it was more than that. Yeah, it was definitely somewhat entertaining, but it took away from the fact that
if I don't laugh,
political theater. Yeah, but it's political theater, and it takes away from the actual serious reason they were there, which was, as you know, they voted at the end of the vote. I don't know what the vote was. Did you hear what the vote was? To at the end of that whole.
I don't know what the exact number was. I just know that they voted to hold Merrick Garland in contempt, which doesn't really mean much at this. So all of that, and really nothing is going to come out of it, because who's going to charge Merrick Garland?
No,
Merrick Garland's going to charge Merrick Garland?
No,
is that going to happen? Yeah, no.
No, all of this is political theater. I just feel like they're just wasting our time, wasting the tax money. Although Marjorie Taylor Greene is taking some interesting stances, and that's what's very cool. And, you know, one thing I love about your work and talking with you at the different spaces that we've had is that you have been really, you know, you just moved right past the hippies. It's because you were getting them from the right and the left, weren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still do. It's crazy.
So let's start with East Palestine, Ohio. Okay, there was a terrible, I don't know if, I know our audience remembers, there was a terrible train disaster. I don't know, Reef, if you have a graphic or anything to pull up. I think I sent you Nick's, I think the hit piece they did on him. But yeah, and I think Indy also did. But anyway, talk about what you were doing in East Palestine, Ohio, and the fallout from that, and why the Republicans turned on you, the conservatives.
Well, it wasn't typically conservatives that were turning on me. It was the mainstream Republicans that didn't like the fact that I was going after anybody who was complicit in the disaster out there. Didn't matter your party, didn't matter your race, didn't matter who, you know, Republican, Democrat, you were a fair target out there because the governor of Ohio is a Republican. So me attacking his response to it means that I'm also attacking the Republicans. I didn't care about any of that. I wanted somebody to be held accountable and for these people to get what they deserve. And when I got out there, there was no media. There was hardly any presence of any well, first of all, there were no relief workers. That didn't come for a long time. But hardly anybody there to even clean up the mess. They were just draining it into the streams that run through the town, turning the waterways into rainbows.
Exactly.
And their main focus was not to get the town back on its feet, but to hide what they did.
And let's go back just for audience members that may not be aware, because sometimes I have international audience members as well. In East Palestine, Ohio, there was a train disaster that ended up putting chemicals. It ended up doing a lot of damage to the local environment and putting very toxic chemicals in the air and in the water. So could you describe it a little bit more in detail? Because you were there, I wasn't. So.
Sure. So a train had derailed, it went off the track. It then caught on fire, and the government decided, rather than just to let it burn itself out, they decided that they were going to blow up the train. Why? I think they blew up the train because they wanted to just get it off the tracks. They wanted to get it out of the way because it's a big cargo corridor, You know, the CS or Norfolk Southern has a lot of government influence. They wanted to make money, so they, blew the train up. And
wait, let me stop you there. Didn't Pete Buttigieg think that was a bad idea? Ha ha. Go on.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Well, Pete Buttigieg in general is a bad idea.
Yeah, there you have it. Go on.
Everything he's ever done has just turned to crap.
Yeah.
But they then came out, Senator J.D. Vance, to his credit, he's the Ohio senator. He has been still pushing hard on this issue even till today. He was questioning the NTSB chair, which that's the National Transportation Safety Board. And he asked her, he said, did they need to blow up the train? She finally admitted the answer was no, they did not need to blow up the train. There was no disaster imminent that they originally claimed there was. And they would never, to that point, they would never do the same thing in the middle of Washington, D.C. should a train have derailed there. They're not going to nuke the town of Washington, D.C. But that's what they did to these people out there, and they were just going to leave them to the wayside.
Yeah. I mean, it was disgusting. I had one of the victims that lived near the train that was derailed and was having actually health conditions. We had her on right after it happened, and she said nobody was there at that time. It was weeks later, and nobody had even started or even assessed the cleanup, or was even acknowledging, even though she went to the emergency room, other people she knew went to the emergency room, but no one was acknowledging that there was any problems from it. And the government was really trying to cover it up. So what did you find out about the health issues about that?
Well, so this video that you're playing right now first is a video that I took. That's a resident throwing a rock in the water and stirring up the chemicals that were in the water, and it turned it into a rainbow. Now, the thing about it is this was after the government had already said, nope, the water's clean, no issue with the water, the chemicals, they're not in the water and whatever. And we exposed that. We exposed them for being liars by just simply throwing a rock in the water. They didn't expect anybody to do that, apparently. And we did, and we forced them to backtrack on that.
Well, good for you that you like were part and then down boots on the ground with that citizen journalism. I really appreciate that you were there, and others. There were some others people there. Indy from INN and Reef. Everybody was covering it on INN here, and big shout out to them. And thank you, by the way, Reef and Indy, for helping me out with my tech issue tonight. You guys are amazing and magical, and I love you guys. But going on with this, there were some people shouting it out. I think Missy Winston shouted it out, some other, but you didn't have really, maybe Katie Halper, but you didn't have really anybody doing anything to really, highlight the suffering that was going on as far as legislators. And Pete Buttigieg, did he ever even visit? Finally, he did months later or something.
Yeah, months later, he ended up visiting, and he did nothing but just take, photos. I confronted him
with his dogs.
Yeah, right. I confronted him, and his answer was to blame the Trump administration. Although, the Trump administration.
That makes sense. That was years before, but that made sense.
Years before. Okay. Yeah, but it was Trump's fault somehow. So.
Oh, okay. Kind of like usual. How they blame Putin for everything. Okay.
Right.
I'm surprised they didn't blame Russia. That's funny. That was next, right? Well, you, like I said, you received some pushback from Fox, or who, I think, or who did you receive pushback from in mainstream media and corporate media?
Well, from corporate media, you had a lot of the newspapers. I mean, Wall Street Journal, Associated Press did a hit piece as well. At one point, I was actually called by the Associated Press. They called me a Russian troll, which is incredible.
That is incredible.
I don't know how you draw that conclusion from me, but
no,
they did. And people were literally accusing me of making things up and causing a disaster where there wasn't one and such. And eventually that all came out as, things that I was saying, things that we were saying in the beginning, all ended up being proven right, as most of these situations end up being, these conspiracy theories and such that people talk about. For whatever reason, they end up being right most of the time. So.
Yeah. That is, and the duopoly really doubled down on this one. As far as like going forward, the other journalistic boots on the ground thing that you did recently that I really admire is your coverage of the Maui fires. You know, Combo Couch Pasta was boots on the ground. I don't know if you got to meet him, but he did a great deal on that, and some other people. But Reef, if you have any, you can show this for our international audience. There were some major fires that happened, and I'll let you get into this, Nick. How did you end up in Hawaii, or were you already living there, and what happened?
Yeah, so I ended up in Hawaii because I noticed that the situation was very similar to what was going on in East Palestine, Ohio, where it got news coverage in the beginning, and then all of a sudden nobody was talking about it anymore. And I knew that there was a hell of a lot more to it. The government response was just abysmal. There were so many things coming out from residents about, you know, the roads being blocked and people being charred to death in their cars because the roads were blocked and such.
That was horrific. Let's go back. What happened was there were fires on Maui, a small island, one of the Hawaiian chains, mostly known for its tourism and its beauty and beautiful beaches. People were literally floating in the water to get away from the fires with no exit route, and people died on site. So go on with that.
Yeah, and the death count was very suspicious. It still is suspicious. We don't know exactly how many people died. I mean, it's the only tragedy in recent history that I know of where the death count has gone up and then down, and then like you're going to tell me an official death count keeps waffling up and down? I mean, that's awfully suspicious. It's almost like the people that weren't reported as missing ended up just being taken out of the death count numbers or something. Like they want to keep that number as low as humanly possible because there's something nefarious going on here. Nobody believes the true number. Nobody.
How many? Okay, so what is the amount of structures that were down? Do you know that number?
Well over 1,000. Well over 1,000 structures.
These are private homes and small businesses, right?
Yes, mostly homes, and not out of those 1,000 plus houses, not a single permit has been issued to do any sort of rebuilding. They are blocking the rebuilding of Lahaina because they want to take the land. They want the land. The government wants the land. They want to give it to their big donors.
Okay. So who's involved with that? Who's involved with that, Nick, as far as the taking of the land of that?
Well, the governor of Hawaii had already expressed, vast interest in acquiring the land. As soon as the fire happened, he immediately came out and said, the state is going to take the land. The state's going to acquire the land. That's the opposite of what people want. But they've been trying to do that for years and years and years because these people just for no number, they've been there for generations. They don't want to sell that land, but that land is some of the most valuable in the United States. So, at that point, something had to be done to get them off the land. Was it done intentionally, or did they just let it happen? It's up for people to decide at this point because they're not giving us any details about how it started, why it started, and every time you try to do an open records request, they shut you down almost immediately. So what's being hidden?
Okay. And so what are these people doing? Where are they staying? How are they living? The residents that have lost everything.
Well, many, many, many of them, Tara, have had to leave the island. There are thousands of them. Okay. Thousands of families are gone. There were signs that are posted around Maui that says every day a local family moves away because they simply can't afford to live there anymore. It's too expensive and there's no tourism anymore, which drove 90% of the economy. Hardly any tourists there. So nobody can feed their families. The federal government is just dragging their feet, almost like they're complicit in wanting these people to leave. And
sounds like it. But Nick, you were called a conspiracy theorist again for suggesting that, right? And other people that have. I mean, like I said, other independent journalists have been talking about this. Citizen journalists have been talking about this. That yes, there's actually a plot to get rid of this. But let me ask you a question. What about Oprah? Isn't her ranch there nearby? Did it get on fire?
No. Oprah's property was perfectly fine. No problems there at all.
Okay,
but she also, she owns thousands of acres on Maui, which again, some of the most valuable land in the world. Thousands of acres. Not a single person has been able to be rehomed on her land. I don't know what she does. I guess she doesn't want the peasants in there. But
there you have it.
Yeah, she did drive some controversy when she decided to start a fund, but then charge regular old middle class people and have them. She's a billionaire. She wanted me and you to put money into her fund. That and we don't even really know where the money went at this point. They're not very transparent with it.
Right.
So apparently there's like $100 million, but nobody that I know has seen it.
Oh my God. So where do you think this is going to end? What's the next step for the people that are staying in Maui, that are not leaving, that are refusing to leave? Maybe their family's been there generations. They're native. They're there, and they're not going to go. What's happening for them? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is there's only so long that these people can stick it out. If you don't have the money, you don't have the money, and the government isn't helping you. So there are a select few people that got FEMA housing, like really, they're putting them in like disaster huts now, which are like you see after hurricanes or something, you see a like a tent, and that's what
that's not even like 4 walls. Oh my goodness.
So on the opposite side of the island too, so it's not even where they want to be.
And what about children going to school and all of that?
Yeah, well,
none of that's happening.
Temporary schools for right now, but a lot of children just didn't re-enroll. Don't exactly know where they went or what happened or why they didn't re-enroll in schools. But
because families were leaving.
Yeah, and a lot of them were killed in the fire. So
it's horrible. What is the estimate of how many people died?
So the number was originally 135, and they decided, okay, well, maybe it's not 135 anymore. They decided, okay, it's 100 now. It's 100 even. And actually, it may have ticked up to 101 the other day or something. I think it's 101 now. But nobody believes that number. Nobody believes that number. Right. They believe to be in the several hundred range, because when you have entire families wiped out, when you had a lot of times you had multi-generations in the same house. And so the ones that were trapped there that couldn't leave, and it just eviscerates the house, you eviscerate that entire family, say 3 generations, they're all gone. There's nobody looking for them. If they're not reported as missing, then, they're not counted.
Oh my God, that's horrible. That's just dire. Are you still doing some reporting on this? Are you going to be continuing to follow up, or has your follow up with this ended with what's going on, or where are you with the story at this point?
Well, it's actually continuing to get worse out there now. So I'm going to go back out there here next month, and we're gonna cover it again and get some follow up on it, because these people need a voice. It's just not very many people doing it.
Yeah, and Reef has all your contact information underneath, so we can see that. So I want to shift the conversation for a couple minutes and talk a little bit about geopolitics for a moment and the upcoming election. You can tell me if you agree or disagree with this comment that I'm about to make, but I think I just saw a thing that Kamala Harris announced, because we know that President Trump agreed to debates with the Biden regime, with Weekend at Bernie's and the White House, right? So they're having a debate. They'll pump him up with Adderall or whatever it is that they have to give him to make him function, or maybe they'll use Chinese robotics. Who knows? But anyway, so as far as that happening, the presidential debate is going on, right? And a couple of times. Now they've announced the VP debate, and I feel like, this is my comment, I feel like the Biden regime wants to know who Trump's VP is so bad so they can come out early doing hit pieces, that they were pushing, like the VP debate, like to get some publicity to try to get him to announce. And he didn't bite so far, right? So do you think what do you think of that strategy? Waiting until maybe August? Or talking about the VP pick now? What's your thought?
Well, of course, I want to know who the VP is. I really, really do. But I don't think it actually matters to, like, there's no upside to Trump coming out with his vice presidential pick right now.
Right. They'll just do hits.
Yeah, exactly. And so Trump he's not going to be defined by his VP anyway, because, it's let's be honest, it's the Trump campaign. It's Donald Trump. That's who people are voting for. Nobody really cares who the vice president is going to be until you uncover something where he got a speeding ticket from 40 years ago that they're gonna obviously they're gonna try to pull a bunch of dirt on him, and they'll start attacking him as well, him or her, whoever. Yeah, but nobody seems to know who. I mean, there's so much speculation about who Trump picked, but there aren't
Who's
a
your
lot of
prediction?
leaks coming out.
Who's your prediction?
I think it's going to end up being Doug Burgum. I don't want it to be.
Really?
I want it to be JD Vance, because I like JD Vance. I think JD Vance is a good guy.
Okay.
Like, mostly because of the East Palestine, Ohio stuff, and how he was actually like genuinely standing up for people even before he had any chance of becoming vice president. That's kind of the person that I think that we need to see. Or like Vivek, if you want to have somebody exciting, maybe Vivek's kind of exciting. Yeah.
He has name recognition. He has all of that. Do you think he'll pick a woman vice president like Tulsi, or the woman that killed her puppy, Kristi Noem, or no?
Well, it ain't gonna be. Just because the way you had to say that just now, we know it's not gonna be Kristi Noem.
Not gonna be Kristi Noem. At this
point, that's just
killing puppies. They don't want to add that. Yeah.
No, that's not really a great resume piece. And people, every time they talk about Kristi Noem now, they use that qualifier, puppy killer.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
that is the worst thing you can call somebody, really.
Exactly. But the sad thing is she's so psychopathic that she actually is proud of it. But she's not a good pick. So do you think it might be Tulsi?
I guess it could be Tulsi. I think it's not likely to be Tulsi.
I don't think so either. Yeah, I think she and Trump would clash too much. I agree with you. I think that there's a good chance with Vivek. I think, you said Vance, but I think Vivek is probably going to be the pick. And if they attack, and the reason is also because if they attack Vivek, they're kind of leaking into racism, and the Democrats, they don't want to be racist, right? So
but they don't even try not to be racist. I mean, they've been attacking Clarence Thomas for being the black man on the Supreme Court for
true.
Years now. So that is the party of the racist, and people have started to kind of accept that. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, you got good points. How did you and I just wanted to ask this because I think it's so interesting. Your spaces and your relationship with Mario Nafal, your connection or whatever, and you guys doing spaces together. How did that come about? How did you meet him, and how did that evolve?
I had randomly requested at one point to go up on stage, and they took me up on stage, and I didn't even know how to work any of the buttons. I didn't know how to.
I know, right?
The mic. I hit the wrong button and started playing a sound effect. I don't know why they didn't kick me back off the stage immediately.
Yeah.
But Thomas Massey was on stage as well, and I started asking. And Thomas was my congressman at the time, and so I started asking him questions, and so almost like an interview style, just impromptu. And so, they asked me to come back another time to interview another congressperson. I'm like, well, I've never done anything like this before. I've never been I was just a software engineer. That's all I was before. I had no experience in any of this, but it's kind of like, this is something that that anybody can do if you just, you're driven to do something like this. And if you're decent enough at talking to people, it's something that a lot of people can do.
Well, I think I really admire like in spaces and stuff, because you and I have been on the same spaces. He's brought me up a few times with Elon Musk being there, which was exciting. But I mean, he's allowed me to talk about, I have a different stance than most people about Russia. I very much support Russia, and I'm very much against the proxy war that the US and NATO are fighting against Russia via Ukraine. And so, he's let me kind of view that. Of course, I get shouted down by Sortor and some other ones, but
of course,
and the Kranzensteins like to come in and try to say that I'm a lying piece of shit or whatever. But like beyond that, but that's the Kranzensteins working for Soros or whatever. But but it's been an interesting. What I find interesting about space is that at least there's some place for people to talk where thousands of people are listening, and you can't get that like at certain Slack or any of those other kind of, or I don't know, or whatever it is, those kind of like discussion chats, whatever. It's the only place where there's like 1,000 to 5,000 people listening, and you can actually talk about different issues. Like you may or may not know a whole lot that's going on, or there may be an intelligent conversation, or it may be just propaganda, but at least some conversations are happening. That's why I like it. What about you?
Yeah, and there are a lot of times where, and actually most of the time, say we have a U.S. senator or a congressman or presidential candidate or somebody up on stage, we don't tell them in advance who is going to be up on stage with them. It could be anybody. It could be people that strongly disagree with them and that are going to press them hard and such. And it's like an open discussion format where it's not pre-planned. We're not censoring who can and can't ask questions up on the stage. It's something a little bit. It's not a controlled environment for the most part. So it's not just like a TV show.
Right.
It's not like a conversation like we're having right now. You're typically on stage with 10 to 12 other people that have the ability to chime in whenever they want to.
Exactly. And there's some chaos to that. But then, you or Mario, like if you're holding your space, you just mute everyone and then wait till everyone calms down and then we can hear everybody once again. Yeah. But I like the lively debates, and it's good. And I get bored with some of the the bots that are being hired, that are just hired guns that come in there and say the same things and they're talking points, and that's annoying.
Yeah.
But I love it when we have like actual conversations with people that are going through whatever they're going through, good or bad.
Even when I totally disagree with them, I still like to have them up, because it's boring if it's just an echo chamber. And you want to have a debate of some sort, to try to get the other side of the story. It's a good way to do it.
Absolutely. So what do you think about the movement towards, because you mentioned you were a software engineer and now you're considered really a journalist. You've been called a journalist, a citizen journalist or whatever, and now an independent journalist. What do you think? Is this your line of work now? Are you moving towards this as you move forward?
Oh, absolutely. I think that there's a lot of room for a lot more people to be doing it as well, because there is so much going on in the world, so many things that are being ignored by the mainstream media. And it could be happening right down the street from you. The East Palestine, Ohio thing, the reason that it was so accessible to me at the time is because I lived in Kentucky, which is, it was like a 5.5 hour drive from where I lived in Kentucky, which was something that was doable. I drove there through the night, and, that's not as easy for somebody, say, in New York City or Los Angeles to do. And so if you have more like citizen journalists that are more localized and can cover stories in their area, we'll hear a lot more about the news of the government absolutely shafting people like East Palestine, Ohio, and such. They were ready to just be forgotten.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great that you're covering those things. And, I wanted to say to the audience, like, please follow Nick on X. And do you have a Telegram, Nick, or no, or just...
No, but I should.
Okay. So your link tree is posted underneath. People, you need to support independent journalists. Please support Nick. He has all different ways you can give him support. Click on that, do it, because this is how we can get some real information and boots on the ground. And, I'd like to invite you, Nick, if you want, if you could host, because I like you as a host, you're really good. And you're also good at picking speakers. If you want to host a Spaces together, let's do that.
Sure, we'll make it happen
in the next couple of weeks. Okay. And everybody that's watching, I want to thank you. Sorry, we had a little bit of tech issues, but it is what it is. It's summertime in Moscow, or coming up on it, and so that's when construction happens, and sometimes the internet goes down. But it'll be back up. But that was just in my building. Luckily, I'm in a wonderful place that has plenty of Wi-Fi, so I was able to complete the show. And Nick, thanks for your patience. I really want to have you back on. We want to hear updates on what's going on in Maui. Do you have a link also that people can follow to find out ways to help some of the people there?
There should be an announcement on that in the next week on my X account. Because I'm trying to work with local organizations as well that aren't government affiliates, because like the Red Cross or United Way are just basically stealing people's money. Yeah, I don't need that. So going to work directly with local organizations.
Well, that's wonderful, and thank you for all your clarity on what's been going on. And to everyone who's watching, thank you so much for tuning in from all over the world. I have some visitors tuning in from, of course, where I am in Moscow, Russia, and also from Great Britain, Australia, and the United States. So thank you, everyone, for watching. And we'll be back next week with another show. Like I said, follow Nick on X. It's really an interesting follow. He has a lot of really what's going on. You're really like on top of the news cycle, particularly with U.S. politics. So follow him for that. And we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone, and good night.